As you would most likely expect, the vast majority of the cars that are featured in this series tend to be very high-performance vehicles. If you look even recently in Unsung Heroes at the Oldsmobile Aerotech, it's one of the fastest cars ever built, and so are various other ones which have been featured in this series as well, both on the road, off-road, in racing even. But this one is a little bit different, because this is not a straight-up speed machine. It is, however, very definitely a performance car, but rather a vehicle designed to show the potential of a performance car. Because this vehicle, the Opel Eco Speedster, which in the UK would be called the Vauxhall VX220, as the base model at least, is a car which is designed to prove a point, as many of the best concept cars and prototypes were. And in fact, the aforementioned Oldsmobile Aerotech was also built to prove a point about a certain engine, likewise with this car. Now, this is no 250 mph machine, although it kind of looks like one. If you made the body kit a little bit wider, fit a huge diffuser, a roof scoop and a massive wing, you've basically got yourself a VX220 GT1 car, which kind of makes me think it's a shame that Vauxhall or Opel never did that. It would have been a very interesting spiritual successor to the Lotus Elise GT1, but what they actually did with this car is kind of even more impressive than a GT1 car, not necessarily visually, but in terms of tech. Because this car, as impressive as it looks, with its gull-wing doors and the sleek body and the 660 kilo carbon fibre curb weight, doesn't exactly have a monstrous engine. The engine is a 1.3 litre, technically it's actually a 1.25, it's barely over 1.25, 1251cc, and it only puts out 112 horsepower. Now, coupled with a 5-speed gearbox, it does 0 to 60 in 8.8 seconds. Which doesn't sound that great, certainly isn't as impressive as the way it looks, but at the same time, 8.8 seconds to 60 from 112 horsepower is actually very impressive. To put that into some perspective, the Fiat Panda 100 HP, which weighs around 950 kilos and has 100 horsepower, hence the name, does 0 to 60 in about 9.6 seconds. So this is actually pretty impressive as far as that goes. What's really impressive about this car, though, is the efficiency. As is indicated by the name Eco Speedster, it is of course not a traditional sports car, and it's not just about being aerodynamic, as the Oldsmobile Aerotech was. This one is designed to save fuel as well, because it's a diesel. And of course a lot of petrol heads, as is included in the name itself, aren't exactly fans of the diesel, the devil's fuel. Now personally, I love diesels. I think they're awesome cars, not just in tractors and trucks, but also when applied to high-performance technologies. Just look at Audi's absolute dominance at the Le Mans, and the only times when they've been beaten have pretty much been with other teams also using diesels, like Peugeot did. Until more recent times, of course. So the true potential of a performance-applied diesel engine has been proven time and time again, not just in racing, although the Le Mans has been one of the best showcases of it, but also by Audi, by extension, in the concept world and even in the production world by more than just Audi, but they always have been pretty much one of the leaders in modern times in that regard. Of course, you've got cars like the Audi R8 V12 TDI, and in the production world, the Q7 V12 TDI, which are great performance cars, and very popular ones. They're not necessarily best sellers, but they have their fans, for sure. And although they are not without disadvantages, for instance, they don't sound as amazing as a typical performance car of the same power and price might, what they do offer is huge amounts of torque, very easy, lazy, low-end power, less gears to work with. It's just not a necessity to have 7, 8, 9 gears, and of course the advantages in fuel economy. Now this car, this has really good fuel economy, and to say that it has good fuel economy is an understatement, because this car does 113 miles per gallon. Yeah, that's not a typo. They didn't move the decimal point. It does 113 miles to the gallon, while being able to hit 160 miles per hour. That is remarkable. Now, 8.8 seconds to 60 doesn't sound that great, but 160 miles per hour from a 112 horsepower engine, that is great. In fact, that's the definition of great. Now, because the car was set up to maintain a speed record around basically an oval circuit, it's not exactly designed for cornering. Now, the handling isn't bad, it's more a case of just not being optimized for that with the right tyres and that kind of stuff, but there is no reason to believe that a car as great as the VX220, which itself is of course inspired and based on Lotus technology, could not be made into a great track car as well, using this same kind of fuel technology and aero technology. So in some ways it's kind of like a mini supercar. As far as the visuals go, the top end speed is true sports car territory. It even apparently sounds pretty good, like a Porsche. So although this car hasn't reached production in its pure form, the technology which it instigated kind of has. Because the engine went on to be featured in Fiat models, Vauxhall models, and has of course been further refined down the line. Now, those cars don't get that same level of fuel economy for a number of reasons. For instance, they're not as aerodynamic, they don't have the same ultra-low weight, and a variety of other things. But the proof and the potential is there. This is a remarkable concept car, a remarkable proven prototype, and one which I personally think happens to be absolutely fantastic to look at the same time. And I don't know if it's just me, but the front end of this car really reminds me of a Mercedes CLK GTR. But that's it overall for this particular installment. Of course, if you are new to the series and would like to check out other unsung heroes which we've looked at in the past, then stick around to the end of this video and click through to see the full list. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.